This E3 special report is sponsored by iRacing.com.
Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Jessica Lopez, and this is your E3 special report on Forza Motorsport 4, who made their debut at the show. Developed by Microsoft first-party developer Turn 10, who throws a heck of a party, I hear. I missed out, but the guys did get to attend, and here they are. They're going to tell you all about it.
All right, on the night of June 8th, we got to experience probably the coolest, Jessica's pretty upset actually, the coolest debut, launch party, whatever you want to call it, since we've started the show.
Yeah.
Turn 10 put on quite a bash.
This was impressive.
We walk up, first of all, this is downtown LA, right near the Staples Center, Convention Center. You know, for you in the States, you're probably kind of familiar with. You're in California, you're very familiar with what we're talking about. If you're in the States, you might know. If you're out of the country, you know, Los Angeles is one of the biggest cities in our country, and this is downtown Los Angeles at this place, LA Live, and basically Turn 10 took over the top of a whole parking structure, probably, I don't know, a couple hundred yards.
At least, yeah.
A gigantic tent that took up the entire upper floor of this parking structure.
Yeah.
And there are exotic cars everywhere. What did we walk up
They
to,
had
Tommy?
a prototype. They had Koenigsegg's there. They had, what else? There was a rally car there. There was...
That new Toyota that was out front. What was that?
yeah.
FT86 or whatever it is. Well, I wonder if that car is going to be in Forza, as a matter of fact.
You would think.
But, I mean, they had Vettel's 2011 F1 uniform. They had Michael Schumacher's championship-winning uniform. They had Alonso's, uniform. And not, like, behind a glass thing. It was right there. You could touch it. Which I did.
And so we walk in, and the MC for the evening is none other than, and if you're in the U.S., you're going to most likely know this name if you're a big racing fan, because I know who he is. Tommy Kendall, Trans Am Championship. This guy, dominated an entire Trans Am season back in the day. Drove a Mustang and a Camaro, but I definitely remember I had a Tommy Kendall shirt.
Yeah,
awesome. Such a big event. If you are here, you are the who's who of automotive gaming culture, etc. So we're thankful that you're here. Happy to host you.
So it was cool to see him there being the MC. We all got to meet him. Tom, you got a picture taken?
I got a MySpace style picture with him and everything.
Took a picture of me with him.
Yeah.
And then Sean, who did you get to meet?
I got to meet Ultimate Fighter Rampage Jackson, who honestly is one of my heroes. I'm a big fan of that sport, so watched him fight many a time and got to take a picture of him, which kind of a little scary, actually.
I love that picture.
So celebrities were there. There was like a Top Gear theme that was going on, and Top Gear is one of the partners for Turn 10 with Forza Motorsport 4, and got to see the Stig.
Yes, they had the Stig there. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then one of the cool things of the night was we all got to participate in this basically Top Gear test track.
Yeah.
How do they put it?
Reasonably priced car.
Yeah, star in a reasonably priced car. Yeah, so we were the stars in the reasonably priced car, and we were all driving a Kia.
Yeah, that's what they put the stars in. It's just a little tiny crappy car,
Exactly. At the Top Gear test track, we all got to run one lap to see who would get the best time. And
this on their Force Dynamics motion simulator, too.
Huge motion simulator.
Yeah,
which was
this thing was really good.
But we all came pretty close. We all ran like a 147 something. The ultimate prize for the night was a drive in a supercar for some company, World Class Driving, and so Tommy won our section.
But it was SRT, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
all over the top of the board.
All over it.
Which was really cool. We had actually beat Dom Doohan in the first round, who a lot of you know out there is a top-notch sim racer.
And then what did he do? What did Dom do?
Dom went and practiced a little bit, got back in line, and just spanked everybody in the whole place.
Yes,
Ran
he
a
did.
143 something. Congratulations, Dom, by the way.
But apparently aliens aren't always fast on their first lap.
Hey.
That's for sure. But congratulations, Dom, for kicking all of our butts in that little competition. Took home the supercar ride or whatever it was. So besides Dom at this party, Thomas Jackemeyer from Fanatic was there with his tech guy, Sven, who was a great guy. We hung out with him quite a bit, actually, during the course of E3. Also, Darren Smith from the Forza community was there. We hung out with him. He's a great guy. Overall, awesome night. Mixmaster Mike of the Beastie Boys with Travis Barker, one of the best
Unbelievable.
drummers in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
they just rocked the house.
Unbelievable.
It's like, I mean, there were a lot of people, but ultimately this is a small party. So this is like having front row center seats to a very big concert.
Oh, yeah.
Or a very big set.
And then they ended this whole gig with, you know, the whole Top Gear thing. Dom won it, but they had judged all these exotics from around the area, basically converged. A lot of them converged at this party, and we're all given a golden ticket. And towards the end of the party, you're about midway through, I guess I could say. Dan Grenewald, Alan Hartman, Tommy Kendall, bunch of the guys from Turn 10 all went out and judged all the cars and selected two, or actually one was only going to be in it, but supposedly Dan Grenewald's a big UFC fan, and Sean's buddy Rampage Jackson's car is also going to be in Forza 4 as DLC, but it's
It's
pretty
a
cool.
worthy car to make the game.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Every car there was pretty
Yeah.
much worthy to make the game, but
Yeah.
it was cool to see that going on, kind of like a SEMA. They even called it like a SEMA.
They did mini
Yeah.
SEMA, I think they said. You know, on a little side note, I watched Alan Hartman go out and ask for one of the car owners to come back because it was a co-Audi owner, and Alan owns a Audi, and they ended up just talking cars for like an hour. I mean, that's the way these guys are
It's
about
cool.
cars.
It's really cool to see guys, you know, developing these car games that we all love, as serious about cars as we are.
Yeah.
So great food, open bar. Again, probably one of the funnest times we've had since we've started this show. Like to thank the guys at Turn 10 and Forza for inviting us to that party and letting us be a part of that. And that was pretty much it. Anything else you guys want to say about the party? I mean, it was a blast.
No, you alluded to it, but we got to hang out with a lot of the guys from Turn 10 and girls from Turn 10. And what a great crew. I mean, they are
Yeah.
all so enthusiastic, and this was their day to sort of like be there and be our hosts and help us in and out of the sim. And they're great guests and great people to hang out with.
I agree.
Yeah, and they all wanted to know our opinions of, how'd you like it? How'd you like that track? How'd you like that car? And Christian was one of my good buddies from Turn 10. And hey, Christian, how's it going? And thanks for all your help and pointing us to all the cool stuff, giving us some tips at the Top Gear test track. So lots of fun at that party.
He
Can't
tried to
wait.
serve us the win, didn't he?
Yeah, I actually did. So anyway, thanks to the Turn 10 crew, and that's going to do it.
I gotta say, I really missed out on the Turn 10 party this year. All those cool cars, Travis Barker, Mixmaster Mike. What a big room full of talented people, and I wasn't there. Maybe next year, though. First up, I'm going to pass it to a commercial break, and when we come back from that, Darren's going to be with studio manager Alan Hartman, asking him as many sim-related questions as he possibly could.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number one on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials, such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components, as well as performance upgrading with optional parts, allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
All right, well, I'm here with the studio manager from Turn 10, Alan Hartman. Thank you, Alan, for taking the time to
my pleasure.
do an interview here. And this is probably going to be one of the most hardcore interviews you're going to have during E3. So are you prepared?
Yeah, I'm prepared.
Cool. Alan's a great guy. We've talked a bunch, and he's been really insightful as far as what's going on with Forza Motorsports 4. So Motorsport 4, and got a few questions from the forums, from our forums. And,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, a bunch some cool ones actually, and a bunch that we came up with. First of all, let's talk about the tire model.
Sure.
You guys made a bunch of changes to that.
I'd say more than a bunch of changes. It's kind of thrown out and started over. So we worked with, formed a partnership with Pirelli, which actually got us access to not just data, but their engineers. And we were able to actually run some tests in their facility and then go back through and harvest their old data as well for historical tires.
Oh, wow.
And it's just amazing what they have,
And
right?
they've been around forever.
So we built the model, rebuilt our model, and we plugged it in and tried it and went, wow. And so we just tossed the old model away. It's probably a big endorsement for their brand, but 100% Pirelli data in the car model now.
So every car has Pirelli
it's
tires,
all
basically.
Pirelli, but they have such a range of tires, right? And I know you were on the Cougar a day or two ago trying that. And you get those big sidewalls, and you can just kind of feel that. And we rework suspension work too, so you're really feeling the weight shift.
That was my next question, actually. Rework suspension then too. So,
yeah.
Wow. So a lot of work then. I'm sure. All the cars are getting the new tires.
Yep.
And now, so each car, I'd imagine. Well, most cars. Actually, there's certain brands of cars, but like the Cougar, it's obviously definitely going to have a different tire than the Ferrari.
Right.
And then, across the board, like the race cars that you have in there. So that's going to have...
Well, obviously, Pirelli has, they're the F1 tire, too. So
exactly.
They've got tons of research and data on racing tires. So
you just mentioned F1.
Yeah.
Open wheel, you guys ever have... Is there going to be an open wheel car in this?
I'm not going to say that yet.
Okay. That was one of the forum questions,
I know,
actually.
it always is. And I always get the same answer.
Force feedback. We were talking about tires and physics. Any changes to the force feedback delivery? I know you guys have all the Fanatic wheels are compatible, and then obviously the Xbox 360 wheel. But
it hasn't been a focus on force feedback. I think it was pretty good. It's more about what peripherals we have out there, and so we were been pretty aggressive with working with Thomas with Fanatec and getting the Mad Catz guys on board. There's another partner that may be bringing a wheel out in time for Christmas that we haven't talked about yet. And then there was obviously, it's not really for our crowd of racing, but the speed wheel is more of think of it more as a fun new controller. It's wireless.
It's pretty cool.
It's really precise too. I don't think anybody wants to go do 24 hours of Le Mans.
No, right.
Holding the steering wheel in there, and I think that's where it is more of a jump-in play. And anybody who is a controller player and is kind of felt that isn't as rewarding for them, I think it's kind of a cool option.
Can jump to that, and that may transition them into something bigger and better down the line. Cool, because one of the things actually on the force feedback on Forza 3 that I noticed was that it seemed at the slip there was more of a drop-off, but I honestly didn't notice that. So I noticed...
Tires.
Yeah.
It's all tires, right?
So
so when people say, what have you done with physics? I go, tires. Tires and suspension.
We always say where the rubber meets the road, and that's a big part of the physics. So that's cool that you guys have made some big changes there. What about the damage model? Any changes there? We actually rated your guys' damage model really high in Forza 3.
Yeah.
So any changes there, or physical or visual?
They are. It hasn't been an area of total rewrite for us, but you will see definitely some visual improvements there, especially when you're in some of the different camera views. So we're still working on it.
Cool. Now, speaking of camera views, you've made some changes to the lighting and how basically everything looks.
And we've made some changes. Before I get to that, we have made some changes to the camera view too. I don't know if you noticed the cockpit.
Yes, that was one of the questions in the forum.
Yeah, we just reapproached the cockpit and said, okay, here are a set of. It's complex, right? Because it's how much of the wheel, the dash, how much of the mirrors, but yet you want to be able to see apex, yet you don't want to have weird field of view.
Right.
It's a pretty complex problem.
It's very a for hardcore sim racers, that field of view makes a big difference on how you're perceiving how the cars react.
Exactly.
So now, speaking of the cockpit view and the field of view, now is that adjustable? Because I know you could tweak it with going into the triple screen settings before. And now is that going to be?
I know a lot of people did that.
Is that going to be easier adjustable, or is it still going to be through that?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Don't know yet. I think it's going to be, there's always the trade-off of can we hit a great solution for the majority of the people out there, and if we can give other people a way to play with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and obviously we all found it. The hardcore guys were able to figure that out. So as long as we still have that, that's cool. Now, what about the wheel? Now, us hardcore guys, me in particular, and especially we're driving with a wheel. You guys have you guys thought about turning that off? So, in other words, we're not looking at a wheel.
Oh, so you don't see it?
Yeah.
That is a hot debate. That is a hot debate in the studio. I'm with you, actually, in that it is weird to me to see the wheel when my hands are on a wheel.
Right. Gamepad players, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not driving with a wheel.
people freak out when they don't see the wheel.
Some do,
when,
yeah.
When we put it in front of users and we have it without the wheel, I think we're going to have the wheel in there. It's just a little.
It makes sense. The majority, like
seeing the shifting and stuff's cool.
It is cool. Let's talk about some of the new features.
Okay.
Mentioned club. You guys have changed how that's going to be.
Car clubs.
On. Yep.
Car clubs is. There's kind of two features I like to talk about together because I think these are for our online gamers. This is going to be just, they're going to love this. Rivals mode and car clubs. So the idea of car clubs is you're a great racer. Well, I saw you race last night. You're a great racer.
Well, thank you.
Say I'm a great tuner. Sean's a great painter, or he's, a great painter. We'll call him a great painter, right? We get together in a car club, and I tune him up. He tricks him out. Maybe I had the money, so I bought the Ferrari. You guys didn't have the Ferrari. We put it in the club garage.
Oh,
it's
sweet.
now tuned up. Anybody in our car club can drive that car.
Cool.
And the cool thing is, then you can go out and imagine now you have one setup, one tuning. Really, for sure, one tuning setup on that car. It can be all customized. You can take it to the top of S, whatever, right? But one tuning setup, park it in the garage, and you say, okay, I challenge the rest of my club, beat my time on Mugello, right? And as you do that, Rivals mode is about collecting bounties against each other.
Oh, cool.
So every time you beat someone in Rivals mode, you're collecting a bounty. You can actually play the career just going through Rivals mode. Pick people up higher on the leaderboard list, you get a higher bounty for them. Pick somebody right next to you, maybe it's 500 credits, right? And then when I beat your time, you get a message next time you're in, Alan beat your time. And
nice.
You beat it, you collect a bounty on me.
That's cool. That keeps things fresh, going back and forth too.
Yep.
Now, clubs and rivals. Now, what about other clubs and rivals?
Club rivalries, right?
Right.
Leaderboard entries for your club. Yeah,
that's
you
cool.
see where that's going.
Yeah, that's really. Now, back to the sharing the car in the garage.
Yeah.
So let's say we have a club, SRT we'll call it, and then we're going against the Forza team club. Mm-hmm. We only had the money to buy one car. Now, can we all race that car at the same time, or is it only available for one of us to drive at a time?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Everyone can race that car. I'm not sure we can all race it in one race at once.
Okay.
We can race it in different races at the same time.
Gotcha. So we can share the car against maybe other guys.
Actually, honestly, I haven't tried it. I'll go check it out.
Cool. Wow. I'll throw something at you there. That's cool. Couple more questions here. Any changes to how the race format goes? Are you able to practice or qualify before races, or how the races go off? Can you start in the pits, or is it pretty much the same format, 3, 2, 1?
Pretty much the same format.
Okay,
pretty much
cool. That was another one of the questions from the forum. I'd like to thank all the guys from the forum for sending in their questions.
Throw me a softball, guys. Come on.
What do you think about the competition? Gran Turismo 5.
We love competition, whether it's Gran Turismo 5. One thing we've always been really honest on is we play everybody's games, right? And we enjoy playing everyone's games. I grew up on Gran Turismo.
I believe Dan did too, didn't he?
Yeah,
He was a fan of,
I snuck over to EA and I was playing Need for Speed, but we play lots of games, right? Play Red Dead Redemption. You're looking at that and like, wow, look at the atmosphere they got. Look what time of day does, right? And you're just like, you get inspired from a lot of directions. So, yeah, we look and play with everything.
You just brought up a great point, time of day.
Uh-huh.
Anything on day to night transitions or day transitions to dusk, anything like that happening?
We're just letting the forums pick it apart right now.
Okay, all right. And then another question that came up on the forums, dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Any dirt racing, rally cars maybe this time?
No announcements yet.
Okay, all right, because I saw a rally car at the party last night.
Let's talk about rendering. Have you seen my graphics?
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about amount of cars on track and the multiplayer, additional cars on multiplayer.
Big focus for us on Forza 4 was, well, it all started actually with Connect. This is the thing that's great about it is we took, literally before Forza 3 shipped, we took a small team onto Connect back when Kuda was first playing around with the hardware and the rest of the hardware team was. And we started playing around and tinkering with it, and we came up with Auto Vista, this idea of you want to be able to walk around, manipulate, learn about, climb inside. And then we realized you want to get really close to these cars, and we call it sub 6 inch close, right? Being able to get in real close and see the car.
Right.
Well, we couldn't do that with our car models the way we were. We couldn't do that with our rendering technology where it was. So we went off and we started modeling insane level of detail in cars. And then we had to come up with new shaders, new techniques of getting the leather, the stitching, the carbon fiber to look the way it needed to. And then we actually reached out to Hollywood Techniques and actually hired some people away from some places down in Hollywood to work on image-based lighting. The idea that instead of light sources in the environment lighting your car, which always kind of feels a little bit weird because you generate your light maps for your environment, then you have to have your car moving through, and it's real hard to get the car to feel really seated in the environment. Image-based lighting is using the environment to fully light the car.
Oh, wow.
So everything's a light source, right? The grass bouncing up, the green light off the grass is hitting the bottom of the car. And you really see that in Auto Vista when you're walking around the car. Well, once we had that in the car in Auto Vista, it made sense to pull it out onto race. So we did the same lighting technology in race, and I think the game looks much better than it did on Forza 3.
I agree with you.
And it's IBL. Plus shader technologies and some other things we've done. But at the same time, my engineers keep getting better and better. They keep getting more and more out of the 360. So at the same time, our graphics improved. I think our environments got more complex. And now we have 16-player multiplayer races out there. You were racing against 12 cars out there.
Yeah, I haven't seen any frame hiccups at all. It seems to be running really smooth.
Well,
and I was wondering, adding those extra cars, is that gonna hurt things? But it doesn't sound like.
We're holding the same bar we held on Forza 3. We do not like tearing. Nobody likes tearing, right?
Exactly.
I hate it. I hate tearing.
I do too.
So we have a real low tolerance for that. There are times when like 16 cars pile into the first corner that things might get, you're already into a wall anyway. So if it tears a little bit, yeah, I won't say we're absolutely perfect, but when you're racing down the road, bumping against each other, it should be rock solid 60 all the time.
Great, that's great to hear. Any other changes in the multiplayer as far as, or is it just mainly with the clubs and the rivals and how that all goes?
And a bunch of new multiplayer modes we'll be talking about later. It's getting a lot richer.
Any new painting features? I knew that was one of the questions. Anything added to that as far as how you can paint?
There are some surprises still to be announced there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Really, the story of Forza 4 is bigger in every direction. Maybe your community isn't as interested in how broad we're getting towards Connect and being able to just sit down on your couch and be able to just air drive next to a buddy drinking beer. That runs in split screen. It's fun. If you just want to kick back and have a beer, it's fun. But in every direction we pushed. We pushed in, we're all about live and multiplayer gaming in the social environment, so we're investing in there. Invested in the graphics, more cars, more environments.
Sounds great to us. Now, environments. Any other tracks that you can announce that you've added to?
Well, you've seen two new ones, right?
Yeah, the Top Gear test track, and then the one what's the name of the one we have out
here?
The
Alps. It's the Swiss and French Alps.
Okay. So any others that you
yeah,
can
there's
tell us
others.
About? None that you want to announce, though?
No. See, the great thing about E3 is it's kind of where we rip the covers off the game, and we really show a lot, but I don't want to show everything at E3 because then everyone has to sit around for 3-4 months waiting, right?
Exactly.
So we'll keep teasing out stuff over the next week by week by week.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. We're really looking forward to it coming out. Speaking of which, release date?
October 11th in North America. I think we are a few days later in Europe, and I think the Aussies might have to wait till about the 20th.
Right on. Well, we're looking forward to it. Alan, thank you so much for everything,
pleasure.
all the time.
It's always fun to visit with you guys.
And it is visiting with you two guys, and all the guys on the Turn 10 team. And thanks to all those guys out there on the Turn 10 team for being so cool and cordial. And
I've got half the studio here today, I think.
Right
manning the booth. So
well, we're gonna get out here and
get back.
Oh, we're gonna do some more driving.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Alan.
Well, guys, we'd hope for more details from Alan, but there's only so much information that he was allowed to give us. We hope that you've enjoyed our Forza 4 coverage of E3 this year. We have a whole page dedicated to it at our website, InsideSimRacing.tv, so make sure you go on over and check that out. I'm going to pass it on over to the guys. They're going to close out the show with their final thoughts on the first impressions of Forza 4.
Okay, so you've heard about the party, heard about lots of different features from Alan Hartman, well, as much as I can get out of him. So now we're going to tell you guys about what we thought of the heart of what we think is this game, the physics. You know, us being the hardcore sim racing guys. And it's funny, the Turn 10 guys kept referring to us as the hardcore sim racing guys. And first thing I'm going to mention, I'll start with, was, you know, one of my biggest complaints of Forza 3, and I asked Alan about this, was the drop-off, or, you know, like, it's almost like the slip angle was just too abrupt in the force feedback. And did you guys feel that at all?
No.
No, not at all.
I didn't feel it at all I got to drive 2 of the cars. I drove the Cougar, 3 actually, counting the Kia at the Top Gear test track. I drove the Cougar, the Subaru, and the Kia. Tommy, you drove...
I drove the Subaru, the 458 Italia, and the Kia.
And Sean, you drove the...
I guess I drove the same 3 as Tommy did.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So I was the only one... Well, so you drove the Cougar?
No,
Did
the
you
Subaru.
guys didn't drive the Cougar?
Nope, no Cougar.
Oh.
I owned a Cougar, but I never drove one.
The Cougar was crazy. The Cougar... Okay, I'll talk about the Cougar first, because then we can kind of both relate to the other. We all drove the Subaru.
Yeah.
So that's one in common, and we all drove the Kia. The Cougar felt like you were driving a car. You know, it's funny. Tommy talked about the 2-foot sidewalls in Shift.
Gosh.
This car felt like it had the 2-foot sidewalls, but it should.
But because it does.
Yeah, because those cars had 2-foot sidewalls. So I'm driving it, and first I'll come off the line, burning the tires through first and second, which was cool. Get into third, driving around, and then there's this corner you came up driving this Alps track, and there's this left-hand bend that you come up on, and I thought it was a lot faster. I thought them tires could hang, and they couldn't. Just slid up the track into the guardrail like it should have. So for me, you know, I like Forza 3's physics, but definitely a step up. You know, I really believe they've totally revamped this tire model.
Yeah.
So Tommy, what about let's talk about the 458, the Italia.
The Italia, well.
Or wasn't the 458 Italia?
Yeah.
Was it?
I believe so.
No.
Or it was the California.
No, it was the California. That was more
okay.
of like a sedan style car, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. The
All right,
Ferrari.
well, I
was-
saw it
Front
from the
motor.
cockpit,
Front motor.
so-
Big front motor
yeah.
car.
So what did you think of the
Copy
Ferrari?
that. It was, you know what? It was great. And I'm going to fully reserve my opinion because I didn't try it on a static rig once. I tried it on a head tracking rig and I tried it on a motion rig. And I was fighting both of those rigs all of the time to try and feel the physics behind what I'm like being subjected to, you know? So I'm not gonna fully assert anything, but even though I was fighting like the head tracking in the Ferrari, I was driving it. I was pushing it and I was four-wheel drifting around corners and stuff, and it felt great. And a big thing for me is if I don't notice something, then it's being done very, very well. And I was immediately just driving and not
Trying to train yourself to what the game wanted you to do.
I was challenging myself to drive a car well
versus learn the game how it wanted to be driven.
Instead of, how can I make this physics thing work better?
So
yeah.
Sean, what about the Subaru?
The Subaru is an interesting car because it's lower horsepower and phenomenal handling. So what this car gave me a chance to do is really feel the overall balance of Forza, the way the brakes work, the way the rear end wants to pivot. And even though this car is all-wheel drive and not a lot of horsepower, you can feel the movement of the car.
What's cool about that level, too, was that Caddy was out front, and it had more power than the Subaru, but the Subaru had handled it.
Yep.
So you could work through the quick or the tight sections, and then the Cadillac would get away from you. But it was a lot of fun.
And you had to get everything you could out of the Subaru, which is, a great test of driving as well. So I had a lot of fun with the car. I mean, driving all the cars. The Ferrari I thought was a beast of a car. A lot of oversteer.
Yes.
But a great amount of fun.
How about that Kia?
Unmatchable. The other thing, again, the cockpit. So regardless of which car, the cockpit view in Forza is just one of my favorites, and they've improved that. So I mean, that helped me a lot there
Let's
too.
go back to the head tracking really quick.
Sure.
I'm not a head tracking fan.
No, me
my
neither.
head moves not in conjunction with what goes on with the screen, so it just does not work for me.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, Sean, what?
For most of the time, that throws me off. Most of my butt feel is through my eyes and seeing it start to rotate when I'm not adding steering or throttle input. And, it threw me off.
I don't think head tracking will ever work in sim racing. I mean, even when I've gone to triple screens, which many people in Forza won't be doing that, but even in triple screens, I might turn my head to look, but I don't want the world to pivot.
Yeah.
And controlling that pivot, just I don't see how I can control it. I don't see how a game can control it, and it's something we'll probably just have to live without, in my assumption.
Yeah.
The Kinect features, not something I'm going to run out and get Kinect for to play with Forza 4. Cool stuff, how you can go. You know, they talk about this image-based lighting that they've gone to, you know, throughout the game, and you know, going and checking out the cars close up with the Kinect was really cool. I imagine you can do it with a controller too.
Yeah, you have to be able to. I'm sure.
But you know, cool to make it so everybody can play, but not something. Again, we don't like. None of us like the head tracking. The other stuff's just you know.
And I can see Kinect being something that an Xbox owner would have for a different game. And if you have it, you're going to put it to good use, like in the Auto Vista part of the game, being able to walk around the car. So, I mean, I can see it having its place. I mean, I'm not going to run out and buy it for the game, though.
Yep. And some of the other things they talked about, the new club feature, I thought that was pretty cool. Looking forward to seeing that. And now the force feedback felt great to me. I mean, again, that slip angle's gone. Not much really more to say about it. I'm really looking forward to trying a lot more cars, that's for sure.
Absolutely. The other thing that was maybe the biggest thing for me, and this is all the consoles have suffered by lack of players, 16-player. That's going to be some fun.
Yes.
Yeah, no question.
And you know, I just thought of something. The AI was really good. I was at that Alpine track, and the AI in front of me pushed a little bit to the outside, and I made this incredibly competitive pass on the inside, and he didn't do anything stupid. I just realized now, hey, he was actually not being stupid like an AI. So that's really cool.
During that presentation that Sean went to, where Dan Grenewald shows the AI driving and what it's capable of. As a matter of fact, when I was driving, you know, we go in there. It's funny until the people at the booths know us. We're like, okay, ABS off, traction control off. Turn everything off.
Are you sure you want to do
sure?
that?
Yeah, are you sure? And then they tell me, you know, our AI is gotten better, but with that damage on, you know, you may be subjected to being taken out. So I'm like, no, turn it all on. I want to see what happens. The AI didn't take me out once.
No.
I might have taken them out once or twice, but you know, I bumped and banged them, you know, but they handled it well. I was impressed.
Absolutely.
So, any other thoughts on Forza Motorsport 4?
I think that's all I've got for the moment. Yeah.
I'm just impressed with how much more they did. I mean, it's really been a short amount of time since Forza 3, and they didn't just focus on any one part of the game. They seem to have focused on every aspect of the game, and I applaud them on that.
Something that I'm really looking forward to is, man, they're coming out with this every 2 years, man. We're going to get to go to these launch parties every 2 years. So anyway, that's going to wrap up our look at Forza Motorsports 4. First look, we're going to be seeing this a lot more here on the show. We've been told we're going to get copies early. They gave it to us early last launch for number 3. So hopefully our good friends at Turn 10 are going to hook us up again this year. I'd like to thank them all. Alan Hartman, Christian, Tatiana, John Wendell, all the guys at the booth that helped us out at one point or another. Nick at the party.
Brian Eckberg,
Dan Grenewald for taking the time to let us check out his press conference. So
anyone we might have missed as well.
Yep.
Yeah, all really cool people, really, really helpful, just great people. Amazing.
Yep.
Promotional consideration provided by iRacing.com, the ultimate place to race online. The world's finest model manufacturer and leader in RC cars, trucks, and tanks. Go to TamiyaUSA.com. And GamePod, the choice of champions. Go to gamepod.co.uk.
Yeah, don't be like this. Yeah, I'm here with Darren and Sean. Hello. I'm actually holding Darren's mic. Hello.
What are you doing?
Hello.
You're like sponging yourself.